Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be covering motion and why it matters. Go ahead and open ykproduce.co.jp. Once you open it, enjoy the beautiful landing page. This is one of the most artistic landing pages and load screens that I've actually seen in a long time. These guys did very well. So we're going to be starting on the home page of ykproduce. The page is completely black at first, and then a circular pattern of small triangular shapes spins gently around the center. Did you see that? A number in the lower right hand counts up from 0 to 100. This little preloader immediately sets the mood. It feels intentional rather than decorative. Nothing else appears until the loader finishes. There's actually a reason why the loader is in place, but we're going to cover that in future episodes. So when the count hits 100, the triangles settle into the company's logo. The black screen fades and a dramatic black and white video of someone plunging into water fills the screen. The logo stays at the top left. Navigation text slides in at the top with a slight upward motion. Each label appears with a tiny delay so that your eye moves across them. This deliberate sequence makes the header feel composed instead of basically just dumped and chopped on the page. Stay on the hero section for a moment and understand the water video keeps playing. Bubbles rise slowly and particles drift around. In the middle of the screen, geometric triangles assemble into a kind of circular emblem. They fade in one by one, and there's a noticeable pause between each piece. Your attention keeps returning to the center because of this motion. At the bottom, right, there's a small play button with a timestamp, see here, and a tiny note that reads scroll. Nothing feels rushed. Even though there's a lot going on, the pacing lets you take everything in. Let's refresh the page to watch that sequence again. Hit refresh and watch the screen go black again. The triangular pieces rotate and the counter ticks up. You can almost feel the anticipation as you wait for the page to reveal itself. When it does, it's super artistic. The header, the hero video, and the center symbol return in the exact same order. This repetition reinforces the brand and shows how timing creates polish. The center isn't using animation as decoration. Every movement serves to introduce an element or guide your eyes. Now scroll down. The first section enters wedding section. This appears in large white letters. It slides up gently into place, and a Japanese subtitle fades in beneath it with a slight delay. To the right, you have a black and white photograph of a bride and her mother, and it glides into view from the edge. It doesn't move far. The lateral motion adds depth. Below the title here, a small Learn More label appears. This tiny piece of text is connected to the title by a little dotted leader line. The timing is staggered. Title first, subtitle second, image third, small details last. Your eyes will follow that order automatically. The red dot next to section 01 on the left helps orient you. It follows you and it tells you which section that you're viewing without words. This use of motion as navigation shows how movement guides attention. Stay here and watch how the picture breathes. The image doesn't just sit there, right? When you hover over, it slowly zooms in, almost impeccably. This micro motion adds life. And the background, though, it remains dark so that your focus stays on the content. Everything feels coherent and deliberate. This isn't complex animation, though. It's simple moves layered thoughtfully. Scroll down slowly again and watch the image fade up and move up, making space for the next section. The red dot on the side slides down to align with section 02. This tiny motion reinforces that you've progressed. Now the headline clearly reads, Create Section. It entered from below, just like the previous one. A Japanese line appears next. A different black and white image of a workspace also appears. Again, the timing is important. Headline first, subtitle next, photo last. The spacing between these arrivals is just enough to make each element feel tied together and feel just as important. A dotted leader line once again draws your eye from the headline to a small Learn More link. This movement is exactly the same as the previous section, which builds a rhythm. Repetition with slight variation feels professional. You know exactly where to look without being told. So scroll a little bit further so you can see it scrolls up the exact same. Okay? There's no wild animation and it's barely noticeable, which makes it all in sync and feel alive and tied together. If you watch closely, the vertical progress indicator on the right side over here also moves. A small red bar slides down the dotted track as you scroll. This bar isn't flashy, but it quickly tells you how far that you've gone. That's motion guiding the orientation. At no point does this site use spinning logos, bouncing buttons, or anything like that. Instead, it uses minimal motion to support the story. Now, let's talk about timing. In each section, the largest element appears first. That's the headline. Next comes the supporting text, then the image. Finally, the small learn more call to action appears. Each piece had a slight delay. That delay gives your brain more time to process one thing before introducing the next. It's like a conductor leading an orchestra. If all of the instruments played at once, it's noise. When they enter at the right moment, it's music. Does that make sense? This site uses timing to make content feel luxurious. Notice how simple each motion is. Fading in, sliding up, a slight zoom, a small delay. These are the basics of motion design. There's no spinning cubes or 3D transformations. The site feels premium because the basics are used with care. This should reassure you. You don't need complex animation libraries to achieve an award level feel. You need intent. You need terminology. Decide what you want people to see first. Then add simple motion to support that sequence. Now, let's click on something to see how consistent the motion is across this website. Move your cursor to the navigation bar at the top. Before you click, notice that the link is underlined when you hover. That underline itself animates in with a quick little wipe. It's just another small little detail. Now, click wedding. The site briefly returns to a black screen. Now, this time it's a close-up of a bride with a large flower in her hair. The heading reads, wedding section. Typical. A small red dot appears next to it, right here, just like the one before. The motion sequence on this page is almost identical to the home page. Load, fade, reveal, stagger. This consistency makes the whole experience feel unified. Now stay on this page for a moment. As you scroll, the hero image moves slowly. This is not called a parallax effect. We'll get more into that later. This is a gentle zoom that makes the static photograph feel cinematic. The headline glides upwards with each scroll. The next headline appears in the same style. The motion vocabulary stays the same. This is important. Consistency in animation will build trust. You learn how the interface behaves and you feel comfortable exploring. We could click into the other navigation items like creation or what's YKP and see similar loaders and reveals. Each section is going to have its own imagery, of course, but the timing and the types of motion are reused across the project. That reuse keeps the site cohesive. It's almost easier to implement than custom animation on every single page. Again, simplicity and repetition lead to quality. You don't need to be doing too much to present a beautiful project. Now, pause and think about how your attention has been guided. On every page, the largest text appears first. Secondary text appears next. It offers more information. Images come in after the text, giving your brain a moment to read before looking at the visuals. Tiny red dots and subtle lines tie everything together. A small vertical bar on the right quietly tracks your progress, and the movement of each of these elements is minimal but entirely purposeful. You are never confused about where to look. Also, note the pacing. Nothing happens instantly. A brief delay between the loader finishing and the hero image appearing creates anticipation. A half-second pause between the heading and the subtitle lets you absorb the words. The images enter just a hair after the text. These little delays are what makes the site feel polished. They mimic the cadence of high-end film editing. I'm sure that's the vibe these guys were going for. Fast enough to keep you engaged, slow enough to let you appreciate the content. The site never uses motion for its own sake. You won't find elements bouncing for no reason. There are no background animations that distract from the message, and motion is always tied to the content. It invites you in, introduces information in a specific order, and then it simply gets out of the way. That's why it feels premium. Good motion design is like good typography. If it's doing its job, you don't notice it, but you feel the effect. This lesson should make you realize that award level motion is not about complexity. It's about intention and control. The YK Produce site uses the simplest possible movements. Fades, slides, tiny zooms, and it applies them consistently. It chooses when to show things and when to hold them back. It pairs movement with stillness so that each transition feels meaningful. This approach is meant to guide your attention, elevates the perceived quality, and it makes the experience feel alive. As you build your own sites, keep in mind and remember that you can achieve the same premium feel with basic techniques. Start with what you want people to notice. Decide on the order, and then add simple motion to guide them along. When motion is purposeful, even the smallest animation can make a site feel special. That's all for this chapter. I'll see you on the next one.